Retired Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus is in Tel Aviv tonight. He is a former IDF spokesperson and senior fellow at FDD. Lieutenant Colonel, Israel's defense minister says that Iran has crossed, quote, red lines by attacking civilian centers. How do you expect Israel to now escalate its response, if at all? Will it go beyond military targets?
Yeah, good night to you. Good morning from Israel. I think Jeremy said it very succinctly. Israel has a very substantial target base of national infrastructure, regime targets, economic infrastructure, and many others that it has, by decision, not yet exploited, not yet targeted. And I think, the bottom line is phone calls between Washington and Jerusalem. Whether or not Israel will escalate and expand that, I think Israel wants to. My guess is that currently Israel is waiting for green light and approval from the U.S. in order to do exactly that. And as many times in the Middle East, the number of casualties in Israel will be the deciding factor how Israel evolves its campaign against Iran.
Well, speaking of the United States and the president of the United States, President Trump, he says that the U.S. was aware of Israel's plans to attack, and the U.S. did help Israel shoot down Iranian missiles. Does Israel need America's assistance in order to keep its attacks on Iran going and also to defend itself?
I'd say yes on both answers, specifically, most importantly, the provision of munitions and interceptors. Those are two resources that are critical for Israel, and yes, I think it's widely known that Israel relies on the supply of them from the United States. So therefore, coordination and seeing things eye to eye and having the approval of the American administration is very important for defending Israelis in these attacks that we see on the screen. Most of them civilian. I know of also of military targets that have been hit, but most of the casualties in Israel today are civilian. And I think coordination here is key.
We are hearing from Israeli sources that say that they took part in a deception operation to trick Iran into believing there would not be a strike. Did that play a big role in the ability of Israel to even pull this off?
Judging by the results, I think obviously the Iranians were deceived or were tricked into believing that they're safe and that there was no imminent Israeli strike. There was lots of talks here on CNN and many other places, Israeli media, about what Israel was doing. But I think in general that the Iranians thought that as long as negotiations are ongoing, they're safe and they can continue to waste time and they can continue to use negotiations as a shield from an Israeli attack. I wouldn't say that the Americans deceived. Israel probably did so. And deception is part of warfare. That's one of the basic principles. If you can cause your enemy to believe other than reality, and then that's a good thing. Sadly, our enemies do it, and they do it well. And bottom line, I think the opening salvo, you mentioned three important Iranian officials. We're talking about, as far as I know, more than 20 senior officers, 3- and 4-star generals, and very important nuclear scientists that were eliminated in that first salvo more than almost 24 hours ago now.
Jonathan Conricus, thank you so much for joining us. With me now.